Now, the Public Service Commission has warned Communications Minister Solly Malatji's request to the Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies for the PSC to investigate governance issues at Sita. Malatji says the government's ICT service provider faces many challenges related to governance, procurement practices, operations and corruption, which threaten service delivery and cyber security in the country. Minister Solly Malatsi joins us now to expand on this. Minister, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, you've expressed a lot of concern, warning that if the issues at Sita are left unaddressed, they pose a threat to the agency's mission and its ability to deliver value. Perhaps, Minister, let's start off with you reminding viewers about the mandate of Sita and its impact on government services.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for the opportunity and greetings to your listeners. Sita, as it's commonly known, is the State Information Technology Agency. It plays a very crucial role in being the central source of procurement for meeting the state information and technology needs, and thus plays a lot of role in helping government departments, to be able to source the ICT infrastructure and ICT facilities that enable them to be able to have the latest technology and the technological resources that then empowers the different spheres of government and different government departments to be able to deliver on their needs.
As you talk about that, we know that Sita faces mounting challenges, including service delivery failures. I mean, just last month, the Home Affairs Minister, Leon Schreiber, bemoaned the agency's inefficiencies, saying delays are a critical obstacle because they're holding up the department's ambition to transform itself into a digitally enhanced organization. What are the other areas of concern at Sita as you speak about helping government departments to sort ICT infrastructure so that they can function better?
A lot of those are quite frankly operational, but then they impact the capacity of the organization to then fulfill its core mandate. There's been a high turnover of executives at management level, the tensions and divisions that continue to mar the organization at board level, the concerns around violation of procurement processes, the kind of governance deterioration and the deterioration of professionalism within the institution. And our view is that these elements are so deep-rooted that they require a thorough investigation in order to make sure that, one, the institution can be cleansed of all this negativity that is so deep-rooted and deep entrenched in the organization, and that we can help state in the right direction and open a new page in a new chapter so that the institution focuses on its core mandate and is not hamstrung by these developments that have been going on for some time in the organization, and hence the approach to go to the Public Service Commission to do this investigation so that we can cleanse the rot that continues to take place at Sita.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of the issues at Sita are not new. They've been the site of endemic corruption in the past. You made mention of the violation of procurement processes. We have learnt of some sources reportedly expressing concerns about ad hoc changes to procurement procedures without the new rules being documented in Sita's procurement policies, which essentially suggests that Sita's bid procurement committee, which had been required to seek board concurrence for contracts worth more than 50 million rand, had now been given the power to approve bids without the need for this oversight. I mean, that in itself raises some very serious questions and concerns.
And that is specifically part of the reasons we have asked the Public Service Commission to focus on the governance matters within the organization, to also look at all alleged violations of procurement norms and standards, which should be applicable across every state entity and every state agency, and to make sure that we can then hold the people that are responsible for these transgressions and violations accountable, and ensure that we restore good governance there, we restore ethical conduct in there, and that most importantly, we can make sure that the institution focuses on its core mandate and on doing the right thing, because all of these things that are required required are not insurmountable. They basically require the most basic adherence to normal standards and norms of good governance, of ethical leadership, of accountability, and also of delivery.
When you talk about wanting to hold people accountable, what does that mean? What does holding people accountable mean in terms of tangible results?
Well, accountability simply means where people have been identified to be involved in wrongdoing and transgression of the normal rules that are outside the bounds of ethical considerations, that there are consequences to that. Those consequences could be suspensions, those consequences could be dismissals, those consequences come in various forms and shapes, but they basically mean that where an individual or individuals have been found to be guilty of wrongdoing, that action must be taken. And the best thing about the public service is that there is very clear prescripts of what kind of action, what kind of action is recommended in instances where there is wrongdoing.
The Public Service Commission has welcomed the call to investigate the challenges at Sita, saying it's complementary to its work in advancing the state's capacity to address issues like cybersecurity challenges. So in today's interconnected world, how central is the scope of the investigation in this regard when we take a look at cybersecurity?
Yeah, we are in the process of finalizing the terms of reference, which we'll then share with Sita. But as I indicated, even in the communications that we have made, we have identified key areas around the violation of good governance principles, the deterioration of a professional working environment, concerns around possible violations of procurement processes, the high turnover of management, and also the instability at a leadership level. But most importantly, to ensure that even in dealing with, the core mandate of the organization, that it is fully capacitated to deal promptly and proactively with cybersecurity threats that, the rest of the departments face, because Sita provides the information technology resources that should safeguard government departments from any potential cybersecurity threats, and that in the rare instances where those happen, that it is then able to respond quickly to be able to contain the threat.
And that would be important because as you and I speak, one would have to question how quick the turnaround time would be with the current infrastructure.
Absolutely, and the importance of every institution like this is in making sure that where there are instances of threats, that there is instant responses, one, to contain the threat, and to also make sure that it does not grow to cause potential serious damage to the state and to the government in general. And that is why we are acting so quickly and steadfast in this, because we believe that there will always be these cybersecurity attempts that are happening, but we need the State Information Technology Agency to be resilient, to be vigilant in identifying potential threats, and also in making sure that it is fully capacitated and resourced, that in the event that those threats do take place, it responds very, very quickly to contain it.
Very quickly, Minister, in a different matter, you've been, as we round down the year, you've definitely been one of the most spoken of ministers, erupting an almighty political row that essentially revealed the tensions and the strengths perhaps of the government of national unity around the future of the SABC bill, of which you withdrew. What are your efforts entail to begin developing a funding model? What will that look like? And you also made mention in one of your statements about laying the groundwork for a stronger public broadcaster with this move. What does it look like?
Yeah, look, we identified one of the core weaknesses in the SABC bill was the lack of a funding model that is essential to securing the sustainability and the future of the public broadcaster, because the public broadcaster still has a place in our democratic dispensation. It plays a very crucial role to inform, to educate, and entertain the public. And we are putting all our energies into making sure that the development of that funding model takes priority. And a few days ago, we formalized, the process of then going out on a process of procuring expertise that will then help us with the formulation of that funding model.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time. Let's perhaps leave it there for now. Communications Minister Solly Malatsi.